EALA destroys Golubic in just 58 minutes, and the crowd erupts. A match so one-sided, nobody believed it was happening in real time. What began as a routine clash turned into a brutal showcase of power, precision, and pure competitive fire. Golubic, usually calm, calculated, impossible to shake, found herself overwhelmed point after point. Fans weren't just cheering, they were stunned, confused, and even angry at the way momentum collapsed. And by the end, one question echoed through the arena. Did Eala just redefine her career or expose Golubic's most vulnerable moment yet? Nobody came into the arena expecting a demolition. Not when the names on the scoreboard were Alexandra Eala and Viktorija Golubic, two players whose styles usually produce long rallies, tight scorelines, and chess match tension. But sometimes, sport doesn't care about expectations. Sometimes it decides to write a script nobody would dare predict. Eala entered the match carrying the weight of 1,000 whispers. Promising, talented, potential star. Labels that feel flattering from the outside, but suffocating from within. She had shown sparks, flashes of brilliance, but the world kept asking the same question. When will she break through? When will she show dominance, not just resilience? Today, she walked into the stadium with a different energy. Quieter, sharper, almost surgical. Golubic walked in like she always does. Calm, professional, unreadable. The veteran who plays tennis like a mathematician, building points with precision, surviving storms through logic, not emotion. For years, she had been seen as a gatekeeper. If you could beat Golubic, you were ready for the next level. And if you couldn't, well, maybe you weren't. The crowd knew the dynamic. They had seen it before. Young fighter versus experienced architect. Power versus placement. Fire versus ice. Everything about the matchup screamed tight contest. But from the opening warm-up, something felt off. Golubic's timing looked late. Her feet reacted a split second slower. She kept tapping her strings like they weren't giving her the response she expected. Eala, meanwhile, kept her gaze fixed, not on Golubic, but inward, like someone rewiring their mindset in real time. When they approached the baseline for the first point, even the commentator sensed it. Eala looks different today, one remarked. I don't think Golubic likes the pace she's seeing already, another added. But nobody, not fans, not analysts, not even Eala herself, knew that the next 58 minutes would reshape the perception of both players entirely. And then it began. First point, a blistering forehand winner from Eala. Second point, an unreturnable serve. Third point, a 14-shot rally that ended with a backhand so clean it felt almost disrespectful. Within 90 seconds, the scoreboard read 40-love, and the energy in the arena shifted. People leaned forward. Phones came out. Something was happening. Something unusual. And yet, this was just the opening tremor of the earthquake to come. Because sometimes a player finds a level they didn't know they had, and sometimes the opponent has no answer at all. And in that moment, nobody knew which one this was, but everyone sensed that this match was about to flip the script on everything they thought they knew about Eala and Golubic.
Golubic wasn't just losing points, she was losing them fast and with almost no resistance. Every rally looked like a replay of the last. Eala dictating, Golubic defending. Eala stepping in, Golubic forced to retreat. And the more one-sided it became, the more the crowd's tension began to build. At 3-0, someone in the stands whispered loud enough to be heard on camera, "Is Golubic injured?" Another answered, "No, she's just getting crashed." And they weren't wrong. Eala wasn't just playing well, she was playing the match of her life. Every forehand landed with intent. Every return cut through Golubic's patterns. Every approach shot was followed by a finishing blow that echoed through the arena. Then came the moment that set the tone for the rest of the match, the hook that made the crowd gasp. At 4-0, Golubic finally earned a break point, a chance to slow the bleeding, a grief opening, a tiny crack in the wall. But on the very next point, Eala uncorked a down-the-line backhand winner that hit so clean, the commentator simply exhaled and said, "Oh my, that's outrageous." The stadium erupted, not just cheering, screaming. People stood up. People slapped their friends on the shoulder. A group of students dropped a banner because they forgot they were holding it. It wasn't the shot itself. It was the statement behind it. That shot said, "Not today, not against me, not in this arena." Golubic looked toward her box, searching for answers. But elite athletes know, once a match spirals this fast, the hardest part isn't fixing your game, it's fixing your mind. Eala kept attacking, she kept rushing the net, she kept painting lines with the confidence of someone who felt she couldn't miss. And by the time she sealed the first set 6-0, the arena detonated with noise. But this was the dangerous part. A 6-0 set doesn't just break your game, it breaks your pride, your rhythm, your belief. The camera caught Golubic wiping her face with her towel, staring into the distance with the look of a player searching for reality, searching for air. Meanwhile, Eala didn't smile, didn't pump her fist. She simply walked to her chair like a soldier marching back into battle, as if she knew this wasn't a fluke, as if she knew she had more to unleash. And the most shocking part? She did. If the first set was domination, the second set was spectacle. Golubic came out trying to change patterns, slicing deeper, playing angles, slowing the pace. She tried everything a veteran is supposed to try when things fall apart. But Eala didn't budge. She stepped inside every ball. She took time away like she owned it. She turned every neutral rally into a weapon. And then the moment arrived. The moment fans would replay online for days. At 2-0, Golubic hit a perfect drop shot. A shot that should have been a reset, a momentum changer, a spark of hope. But Eala sprinted forward, slid, flicked the ball cross-court, and landed it so sharply that Golubic didn't even move. The crowd didn't erupt at first. They paused. They froze. Because that shot felt impossible. Then, all at once, boom! People screamed. A wave of sound crashed down the stadium steps. Someone yelled, "No way!" Another shouted, "She's on fire!" The commentators started laughing from disbelief. And here's the twist. The louder the crowd got, the more Golubic unraveled. Her shoulders tightened. Her errors grew. Her frustration became visible. She slammed a ball into the ground after a double fault. She muttered to herself after missing a routine forehand. She stopped looking at her box altogether. At 4-0, the atmosphere transformed from excitement to shock. Fans weren't just watching Eala dominate, they were watching Golubic fall apart. Social media was exploding in real time. Is this the same Golubic we know? Eala playing like she's possessed. This is career-defining stuff. Every point felt like a countdown. Every rally felt like a verdict. And yet, through all the chaos, one thing remained constant. Eala's eyes. Focused. Calm. Determined. Like someone who knew she had waited years for a match like this, and she wasn't going to waste a second of it. When she broke again for 5-0, even Golubic shook her head. Not at Eala, but at herself, at the disbelief of what was happening. And then, almost poetically, the final game of the match wasn't dramatic. It was clinical. Eala hit 4 consecutive first serves. Golubic barely touched the ball. Game. Set. Match. 6-0, 6-0. 58 minutes. The stadium exploded. The crowd didn't just erupt, they lost their minds. And as the noise echoed through the arena, the camera zoomed in on Eala's face. She finally smiled. Because she knew this wasn't just a win. This was a statement. But dominance always comes with a price. The moment the match ended, the handshake carried a tension nobody could ignore. Golubic stepped forward stiffly. Eala tried to offer a genuine gesture, but Golubic's expression barely changed. Fans noticed immediately. Golubic is salty. She didn't like that beating at all. That handshake was cold, and that was just the beginning. Minutes after the match, clips of the handshake started circulating online, fans analyzing every facial movement, every micro-expression, every second of hesitation. Theories emerged. Golubic felt disrespected. Eala celebrated too hard. This rivalry isn't friendly anymore. But the real drama erupted in the press area. Reporters asked Golubic if she was surprised by Eala's level. Instead of giving the usual athlete compliment, she replied with something that made the room shift. She played well, she said, but I made it very easy for her. That sentence slammed into social media like a meteor. Was it downplaying Eala's performance? Was it frustration speaking? Or was she simply being honest? Nobody knew, but everybody talked about it. Eala's interview took a different tone. When asked about the blowout, she paused, then simply said, "I just tried to stay focused. When you get momentum, you respect it. You don't let go." That line became a viral quote, not because of its words, but because of the undertone. She didn't apologize. She didn't downplay. She didn't pretend it wasn't destruction. She owned it. And many fans loved that. But others didn't. A segment of Golubic's supporters claimed Eala showed no mercy. A few analysts criticized her for running up the score. Some questioned if she celebrated too confidently. But tennis doesn't reward mercy. It rewards execution. And in the middle of the chaos, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a match. This was a fracture between fan bases, between interpretations, between two players from very different generations. A fracture that only widened as the narrative grew. Behind all the noise, the tension, the headlines, there was a much deeper truth, one that fans didn't immediately see. Golubic had been fighting fatigue for weeks. Not injured, not broken, but drained, mentally and physically. The travel, the schedule, the expectations, it had all been catching up with her. Meanwhile, Eala had been quietly sharpening her game. Hours of training, new patterns, a cleaner, simpler mindset. She walked into that match not just ready, but hungry. So, when the perfect storm formed, Golubic off, Eala on, the result wasn't impossible, just rare. And yet, in private moments after the match, something unexpected happened. Golubic's coach reportedly told her, "This match doesn't define you, but it might define her." Those words mattered because they captured exactly what the tennis world was starting to realize. Eala didn't destroy Golubic just because Golubic played badly. She destroyed her because she found a level that transcended age, experience, and reputation. And deep down, even Golubic knew it. The rematch, whenever it happens, will carry a weight few rivalries ever achieve. Because now, Golubic isn't just defending pride. She's defending legacy. And Eala? She's chasing it. Days after the match, the world stopped talking about the score and started talking about what it meant. For Eala, this wasn't just a win.
It was a message to the tennis world. She is no longer a future star. She is a present threat. For Golubic, it became a moment of reckoning, not humiliation, but transformation. Champions don't hide from losses. They rebuild with purpose. And for fans, they witnessed the birth of a rivalry, not built on hostility, but on contrast. Youth versus experience. Power versus precision. A rising wave versus an established wall. And when those two forces collide again, the echoes of this 58-minute storm will hang in the air. Because the crowd didn't just erupt that day, they witnessed a shift in confidence, in hierarchy, in narrative. And now the question belongs to the viewers. Was this a once-in-a-lifetime eruption, or the beginning of a new era where Eala becomes the player nobody wants to face? Only time will answer that.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most shocking performances in recent memory, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this rivalry is far from over, and we'll be here to break down every twist that follows.